Here is a story about the Rebbe of Sans. I told the story, I think, the other day about him, but that was in the Holocaust. This is a story way before that. There was a Jew, a simple Jew, and he would eke out a living by he had he was poor, abject poor, but he always had something what to eat for him and his family because he had a wagon with two horses. And the horses were really good. His house was in terrible condition. The wagon was in awful condition. Everything, didn't have enough money to fix it, but he had enough money to buy food and also a little bit clothes for his family. So one day he's driving his wagon and it starts a terrible weather, starts a terrible storm. And by the way, those days of driving a wagon was like very simple. You just basically went from one city to another straight. There was no houses or, nowadays taxi drivers, they have to know addresses and things like that. There was no stoplights. There was no traffic. So he's driving in his wagon. Suddenly there's a tremendous, terrible storm, rain coming down, and it's cold, and the rain is like really, and it makes the road all muddy, and it starts getting cold, really cold outside. It's hard for him even to see. The rain is just so strong. And he's driving along. Suddenly he hears through the wind, maybe the wind blew in his direction, someone screaming in Yiddish, "Help me, Redovit, Redovit, Redovit." So he's driving along and he sees somebody stuck in the mud, like up to his knees. And he can't see who it is really, but he hears this person screaming out. And even if it was a non-Jew, it wouldn't make any difference. But the fact is, he heard this person scream out, and so he grabs a hold of him, and he pulls him. He's a strong guy. He pulls him out of the mud, sits him next to him, takes a blanket, puts him around him, puts whatever it is, a cover, so the rain isn't coming on. And the first inn that they come to, they stop, and they comes out. They get off the wagon, and he puts the horses into a stall or whatever, goes into to dry off. And the Jew says, "You saved my life. I'm so grateful to you." And he looks and he sees who it is. It's the Rebbe Tzanz, the Tzanz Rav, a very holy, tremendously holy person. So he says, "Oh, the great Tzanz Rav." He said, "Listen, I want to give you a blessing. Do you have anything in your house that's worth anything?" He says, "Furniture, maybe you have money saved up, you have jewelry." He said, "What I do have, I have two horses, two really strong, good horses, and that's what I make my living for. It's a good thing I had those horses because I wouldn't have been able to, make it through the storm." So the Rebbe said, "Wonderful. I give you a blessing, one for Purim and one for Passover." He said, "Oh, thank you, Rav. Thank you very much. One of my horses for Purim, one for Passover. Thank you. Thank you." And the rabbi said, Don't mention it. And they parted ways. He goes home, the simple Jew goes back home. He says, "You won't believe what happened. That big storm?" He said, "Oh, yes." His wife said, "I was so worried about you." He said, "No, it was the most amazing thing. There was a Jew stuck in the mud. I pulled him out of the mud. I saved his life. And it was the Sons of Rev, the Rebbe from Sons. And he gave me a blessing." He said, "Because I saved his life, he gave me a blessing." He said, "My horses, that one of the horses is going to be for Purim and one is going to be for Passover. Isn't that wonderful?" So his wife said, "What does that mean?" I said, "I don't know. I have no idea what it means, but it's a blessing. I don't. We'll find out." Well, it's about a week or two before Purim, and his wife goes out into the stall to feed the horses, and she comes back and says, "The big, strong white horse, yeah." He says, "Well, he's laying on the ground, and he's stiff as a board, and one eye is looking over here, one eye is looking over there, and his mouth is open, he's not breathing." He said, "What, he's dead?" She said, "Listen, you said it, I didn't say it." So he takes the horse, the dead horse, and he sells it. You can sell the meat for dog food, and he sold the skin for whatever you can sell, and the hairs of the horse. And he decided he's going to make a big meal for all the poor people for Purim. And he saved a little bit for himself, for his family. And suddenly Passover is coming. So his wife goes out to feed. It's like a week, 2 weeks before Passover. And Purim is a month before Passover, right? So His wife goes out, comes back in and says, listen, you remember the black horse? What do you mean remember the black horse? Well, he says, well, the same thing was with the first horse, was with the black horse. He's laying on his back. He's dead also. So you said it. I didn't say it. So he sells the, now he's a little bit savvy about how to sell it. He gets a better price for the meat, better price for the this. And he invites all the poor people for Passover. The Passover, wonderful meal, and he doesn't want to just keep for himself. So after he's finished, so he doesn't have any horses and he doesn't have any money, not much money anyway. And so he says to his, so he goes around looking for odd jobs. There's no odd jobs. So his wife says, listen, we got no choice. Take a loaf of bread or something, a couple loaves of bread, and go to the next city, go from city to city. Maybe you'll find some sort of work. So that's what he does. So he starts walking. He starts walking, walks for a day, walks for another day. Every town where he asks, is there any work here? Is there any work? No. After 3 days, he's like really tired. He stops off at this inn just to rest a little bit, sit down, and he hears two Gentiles screaming at each other. That he's a maniac. That boss, he's just such an evil person. I hope he drops that. So he walks over to them and says, can I ask you what are you talking about? So they look and they say, oh, you should never know, Jew, you should never know. We're the managers of these estates of the Paritz, of the Baron. And he's just a maniac. The guy is maniac. Everybody we bring to him to be an overseer for the whole place is he doesn't like. And he blames us. Right? We're the managers. We have to find an overseer that looks over and manages everything. And we can't find anybody. We don't know what to do. And so he said, well, maybe try me. So they said, listen. The fact is, we're not anti-Semitic. We don't hate Jews. But our boss hates Jews, and he hates everybody. He hates everyone, but especially he hates the Jews. You're going to go there. Who knows if he's not going to kill you? The guy has a terrible temper, worst personality in the world, and he's the boss. He's the baron of the whole entire place. He can do whatever he wants to. He'll throw you in prison. Do yourself a favor and just sit down. He says, listen, you got nothing to lose. Tell your boss that all of a sudden this Jew starts thinking, maybe this is the reason, I haven't got what to eat anyway. So he says, are you serious? He said, yeah, tell him that I lied to you and that I'm telling him that I told you you're an expert and then this and that. I said, okay. I mean, really, we haven't got any choice because we can't find anybody. He said, if we don't find anybody by today, he's going to beat us. So we'll bring you. So they brought him to this. They brought this Jew. They bring him in front of the Baron. And as soon as they come in the Baron's room, the Baron is just screams and yells, what are you doing? This is what you bring? A Jew? You're bringing me a Jew? So this Jew says, what would you rather that they brought a fish? All of a sudden, the Baron said, fish. That's really funny. That's the first time I ever laughed in my life. He starts laughing. And the two managers are looking and saying, I never saw him laugh like this. Said, you made me laugh. Said, what would you rather that I made you stand on your head? He starts laughing and rolling on everything this Jew says. He just really enjoys it. Said, I like you. You make me feel happy. I'll let you try it. Let's try it. And he tried to be a manager and it worked. Suddenly he knew what choices to make and everybody liked him. He was pleasant with everybody and he told people how to do things better and where he got these ideas from, nobody knows. And the Baron says, listen, I was wrong about the Jews up to now. I realized that, wow, I really had a bad opinion from nowhere. You come and live here and tell all of your Jewish friends to come. I'll build you a synagogue. I'll whatever you want to. You can come here and you can live. And that's how he changed the whole thing. Suddenly he realized that if he still would have had those two horses, then he would still be a wagon driver. And that the blessing that the Rebbe gave him, that he should lose the horses, one for Purim, one for Pesach, this was the biggest blessing because he let go of his past. He let go of his limited vision of the world. And it opened up to him new possibilities that he would let God take over. God, and when that happened, so there was big blessings. And so it will be to us when we let the Creator take over and we stop thinking negatively and only positively, then the world will be a new and positive and happy world. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now see you all tomorrow at 8:15.